Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Hashtag Sports. Obviously, we're not in our normal setting here. Paul is not with me. He's joining me via satellite. But the Buffalo Bills pulled off the improbable today closer. Is that what you would call it?
Yeah, improbable is probably a bit of an understatement. Basically, pitching a shutout till the final 5 minutes of the game certainly isn't anything that I anticipated. I don't know about you, but going back and watching last week's post game and going back and watching our Vikings preview and now looking in the rear view, there wasn't a lot that was a positive coming from last week.
No.
And boy, you didn't see anything from last week that you saw this week.
No, the thing about it was we had talked about certain things like during the game that should happen. You know, they should blitz Edmonds. You know, give him something to do. Have him go through the A gap. Have him shoot the gap, and have him do a few things like this. And we were just like, let Allen go. You know what I mean? Let him go. That's why I decided just to kind of open today's segment with my good old trusty Buffalo Bills helmet, because
you know. Look great, by the way.
I know, it's fantastic. You know, it's kind of sad that a junior helmet fits me, but that's what the Bills make you do now. I mean, they get destroyed by two teams in the first 2 weeks, and then a team which is considered, it was mentioned many times throughout the broadcast, a team that is considered one of the best in the NFC, they embarrass at their home field. I mean, they embarrassed them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to wonder if Minnesota was, as the injuries started to pile up for Minnesota, they kind of knew early in the week that they were going to be without Cook. They knew early that they were going to be out without Griffin. I don't think they really stressed too much because they just thought, okay, well, that's no big deal. We've still got Latavius Murray, who they rode last year while Dalvin Cook was out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be just fine. And the Bills looked at that and said, okay, well, let's bring the house at them early. And I think the biggest progression that we saw from the defense was the play of the pass rush just as a whole. So what did you see, Mario, that was different this week compared to last week from a pass rush standpoint?
Well, from the pass rush standpoint, what it was they were getting pressure with four. Initially, they were starting to get pressure with four. And you know what? Cousins is a god. Cousins is a guy that you don't really want to blitz because he's been in the league. He's got over 60 starts, and he's not really a guy that's going to get fooled by a blitz. But what they were doing was a lot of things that we talked about last week was they were getting that initial push up the middle. And my God, Jerry Hughes showing up, and just basically flying around and just creating havoc everywhere. I mean, they said that the first 5 possessions of the Vikings was fumble, punt. And unfortunately for Bills fans, that's usually what we have. But it was like what they were doing was they were mixing up coverage. They didn't allow the back to get to Edmonds. They didn't allow him to make a mistake in coverage. All right, listen, we're going to blitz. We have to try to cover up the fact that we don't have that much, we're not deep in the secondary. We have to try to cover that up. So, all right, Edmonds, go. Create havoc. That's what we want you to do. We're going to let them run because they weren't afraid of Latavius Murray. They were just protecting against the pass the whole game. So,
yeah, that's exactly it. I saw a lot of Matt Milano in the backfield, a lot. So they were not afraid to bring Milano and Edmonds, which is something that they haven't put on film all season. I think after 2 games, it showed that Edmonds was struggling a little bit to stay up to speed real time. The game was moving a little fast for him inside. So, you saw Cousins after that second series. Edmonds would tip the blitz a little bit, and you'd see Cousins, back away and start making protection calls to try and keep himself standing up. And it was definitely a big time problem for them.
They didn't want any part of Milano. They did not want any part of Milano. And Milano it seemed like him and Edmonds were like awakened this time, today. They had all the, Vikings want to talk about all these weapons. You didn't hear Rudolph's name for a while. Speaking of Rudolph, good Lord, could you have a push-off called perfectly in the end zone like that? And the refs just completely like, it's 27-0. We're gonna let them have one.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that late in the game, you're going to see a lot of stuff fly by. And speaking of flying, what about Josh Allen jumping the bar? Good grief. That's one of those, moments where I remember in Major League, nice catch, Hayes, don't ever effing do it again. That's one of those moments.
Can I just tell you, for the viewers that are out there that don't, I mean, we're primarily on YouTube, but we do have a Twitter. It's at #Sports if you want to check it out. Paul took it upon himself. Paul, can you reiterate the tweet you said about Anthony Barr?
Did I say something about the bar was set too low?
Yes. You tweeted the picture that we put on the thumbnail here for Josh Allen jumping over me. Apparently the bar was set a little too low. And now it's like, this is a guy that knocked Aaron Rodgers out for the season. And you got Josh Allen just giving him stiff arms, jumping over him, running around him for a touchdown. Basically embarrassing him, making him look like the rookie linebacker. And it was, not to say that, I mean, I was impressed by the athleticism of Allen, but it's like one of those things where you're like, that was really good. Please don't do it again.
Absolutely.
Like you said with the Major League quote, that was great. Don't ever do it again.
One thing that I do want to point out that we saw that was different this week versus Allen last week. Allen, obviously Allen in week 1 was kind of running for his life a little bit when he did get to play. Week 2, he seemed to be a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
The game script was outstanding at the beginning of this game.
Oh, my God.
They were on point. They knew what they were going to be able to pull over on Minnesota. In Minnesota, they ran early sets with no safety. Just saying, go ahead, throw it. Go ahead.
Yeah, they did.
Try and throw it.
They challenged him, and he was up to it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't understand that. You have McCoy down. So, you're going to run with Chris Ivory and Marcus Murphy in your backfield. So, can't you kind of give a little bit on the run? I understand, you want to bring down and put pressure on Allen to make decisions, but the script was so good, and the field position that the Bills got, you couldn't beat. To start 2 of your 3 possessions in Minnesota territory, that's how you win football games. And that's what this team did early last year, was they created turnovers and got the ball in enemy territory.
Well, absolutely. I agree with that. But no, you could say 6-1, half dozen the other. Why? That's what the Bills' philosophy was. Cook's down. Let's blitz Cousins. The Vikings were doing the same exact thing. Like, listen, all right, McCoy's out. We don't have to worry about the run. Let's blitz him. Let's blitz this young kid. So that's what they did. They ended up blitzing him, but Allen uses athleticism to get out of some trouble every once in a while. And you can't discount the field position. And the script that Daboll had, like you said, was phenomenal. That touchdown that he threw to Kroom, that was a greatly designed play. That play was designed beautifully.
Do you think that was play design? You don't think he pumped it because the corner and the linebacker bit, or you think that was play design?
I think that a decision. You run a jet sweep to see if they have man, and then as it's going, as the play starting to unfold, you saw that they were in zone. What he did was he pumped it to try to get a window open, and what ended up happening was as he pumped it, because you're talking about a rookie. Remember again, you're talking about a rookie quarterback. He's going to try to take the first throw that comes to him. He ends up pumping to the running back. The linebacker comes up. Nobody covers the tight end. And up until that play, what he was doing was he was throwing to his first read, as you know. So It's one of those things, football players are not immune to being creatures of habit. Once a quarterback starts throwing to the first read every time, that's what's going to happen. You're going to try to say, as soon as his arm starts to go up, that's where you think the ball's going. And, I think he threw to the running backs maybe 2 or 3 times prior to that play, but the script that Daboll had for him, Zimmer's not a guy you figure out really quick, and he figured him out, and that spells. If I were the Vikings, I would be a tad bit worried the fact that the Buffalo Bills figured you out and gave pretty much the rest of the NFC a blueprint on how to move the ball on you. You know what I mean? Trust it. True, they gave they gave up 29 points to the Packers, and they ended up getting a victory in week 1. But what he had for a script for Allen was just beautiful today.
It was, yeah, and it was fun to watch and see how they were able to move through that Vikings defense, because that secondary and that defense overall kind of scares you a little bit, right?
Oh yeah.
That's what that team is really built on, is that defense. And when that couldn't pick up, and they just couldn't seem to stop Buffalo, Buffalo fooled them a lot, and that's just not something you would expect. But I will say that Allen looks good when he had to make decisions to go, right? Mm-hmm. That's something that you worry about with a rookie quarterback, is they're going to make a decision too early or make a decision too late. When Allen decided to go, it really was the right decision.
Yeah.
When it was time to get out of the pocket and make something happen with his feet, he was able to do that. And I think that was pretty impressive. I know that we had some Bills banged up. We got a question from Tom B in the chat about Trent Murphy. He left the game with an ankle injury. Unfortunately, man, Trent Murphy is like Arian Foster was back in 2016. He's like Captain Day to Day. You just never really know with him, right?
He's always going to be day to day, man.
Yeah, that's the way it's going to be with him. So. I'm not hearing anything serious. I don't think that's going to be a long-term issue. But again, the pass rush was aided, and you saw Trent Murphy be effective today because there was stuff coming from all over the place. They were double blitzing that A-gap all game long. And that was fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and just go back to your previous point. Can we just say something for everybody that's out there? I mean, guys may be listed, but after week 1, the entire NFL is day to day. No one is ever 100% after week 1. So Murphy's like one of those guys like, he may practice today, he may not. He's always been one of those guys. The thing about it with Allen, the thing that I think at one point in the game he was 10 of 17 or something like that, but he had 3 drops. And I'll tell you what, this receiving core, as we talked about, as we've always been worried about since day 1, he's starting to put the ball on them, and they're dropping passes, and that's not good. I mean, we saw, I think McLeod gave a little, Tyrannosaurus Rex down the sidelines on one play. Benjamin dropped a 3rd and 4 when they were in the red zone. I mean, the game, it didn't matter too much in this game, but if you're in those tight games, let's say, I don't know, New England, if you happen to be in a tight game against New England, and you drop a 3rd down and 6 inside, you drop like a 1st down catch inside the 5-yard line. I mean, that's going to hurt your team, because then you're trading 7 for 3, and you can't really afford to do that if you're the Buffalo Bills.
The one thing that bothered me a little bit about the receiving court was watching Benjamin let the ball get into him. Like, he really let the ball get inside on him. And it's something that I noticed before. Benjamin's great at high pointing the ball, but when he doesn't have to jump, man, that he just lets that ball get right to his chest. And we see the same thing from Zay Jones. And there's a guy that was just, again, a total ghost today. He played almost all offensive snaps, and there's Zay Jones just doing a whole hot pot of nothing. And you're going to have him. You can't simply depend on Robert Foster running a go route to open up the defense. You obviously can't, at this point, depend on Calvin Benjamin to snag something when you need it. I mean, that pass down the 2-yard line to Benjamin was so frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
Allen gunned it. And we saw the same thing at training camp, was Benjamin was letting the ball get in on him from Allen. And I don't know if he just can't. I don't want to say he can't handle the velocity, but I still feel like he's thinking it's Peterman back there, or thinking it's McCarron. And Allen just has a whole different level that he goes to when he throws football.
Well, I mean, it could be one of those scenarios where Allen could be experiencing what he did in Wyoming, where his receiver just can't catch the ball. But here's what I'll ask you. The Buffalo Bills, for a majority of the day, they decided to man up Trey White on Stephon Diggs, which, by all accounts, is a smart move to do. Majority of the day, I saw Rhodes all over Benjamin. Now, do you think that it could have been one of those scenarios where, all right, here's what, Zimmer's probably going into the game saying, all right, listen, we're going to take Benjamin out of the game. We're going to put Rhodes on him. And they're going to bracket Zay Jones. Because, like anybody else, he probably knows that Daboll wants to use him the way he used Ridley back in college as that, explosive player he can get the ball to. But, I mean, do you think that may have been the game plan for Zimmer was the fact that Jones was probably bracketed majority of the time is the reason why Allen couldn't go to him?
I mean, I think it definitely explains why Andre Holmes had the day that he had.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot. If you can man up Benjamin, right, and if you can take Zay out of the picture, then you have to throw the ball to Chris Ivory. And I don't think Minnesota expected a whole lot from Ivory in the receiving game. It's not typically something that was a forte in his game.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, did he look good when he was running the ball. And I'm going to bring this up. It is very clear to me that, and we know Alabama, right? Alabama's not full of scatbacks.
No.
They're not full of scatbacks.
No.
Nor was New England.
Mm-mm.
And you saw how effective Ivory could be when he was running between the tackles in this style offense. And you just really have to ask yourself if that's stylistic, if Ivory was really just on top of it today, or if the system is really going to favor those backs who can just ground and pound 5 to 7 inside, inside the A and B gap. And then I'm just very curious to see if it's system or if it's player.
Well, you got to think too. The thing that shocked me at the start of the game was Bodine started instead of Groy. I mean that was something that was unexpected, but worked. Like you said, if you want to talk about running in between running in between the A gaps, running up the middle, as far as Ivory did today, and he did a successful job of doing that. Look who's up there. You got Bodine, Dukas, and Mills. So what happened? Like, did they just overtake the front four of the Vikings? Was it Ivory? Was it? I mean, there's a bunch of things going on. I see we got some comments coming up in the chat. Do we got anybody? I tried to read a couple of them really fast. I really couldn't get to them. Paul, what do we got on there? Because we always love these comments from everybody.
Yeah, so Bills fan 7883 talked and mentioned that Milano was ridiculous today. Josh Allen wasn't getting any help from his receivers, and Ivory did step up. He mentions Bodine looked like the starting center, right? Until he went out, the O-line looked pretty good. Once Grover came in, you did see a bit more pressure.
Yes.
Minnesota definitely was willing to attack the inside a bit more once Bodine went out. Again, I think some of the pressure that we saw there was because they were putting their foot on the gas pedal, trying to make life a little bit more, a little bit harder on Allen. And then Tim Ellington mentions this game will force defenses to try and find more options against Josh Allen, who could throw 80 yards and also literally hurdle over any player in the defense. And he did say that in the post game. He's like, well, you got to put that kind of stuff on film.
Is he pull a little Fitzmagic one-liners up at the podium now? Like, what's going on?
I don't know. I don't think you can be true Fitzmagic until you have until you can be mistaken for Conor McGregor, right? I don't think you're true Fitzmagic until you got the beard, right?
Look at this guy. That was funny. That was hysterical.
And I want to bring this up, Mario. So we talked about the script early. The Bills had great field position at the beginning of this game because of the way that defense was playing. Kirk Cousins is known for fumbling the football. It's been a rap on him for years at this point. You saw those guys swatting at that football, right? You saw Jerry Hughes come in and just start going crazy. And it was great to finally see him show up. He was really able to take Riley over the corner, or over the edge. But I want to bring up how the game progressed from there, because my biggest concern with rookie quarterbacks is those first 10 to 15 plays they're going to have on lock. The offense is going to look solid. And then as the game progresses, you're going to see those rookie decisions and rookie decision-making pop up.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see from the game as it progressed through the playbook? Because, again, once you start getting deeper and deeper in the playbook, it starts going into uncharted waters with some of these plays. So where were you as far as the way that the game was called?
Well, I think once you build a sizable lead, the play calling obviously shifts a little bit. I mean, the Bills at the end of the half, you know, we were talking about it during the game. We were saying, hey, listen, you know, they got to try. They got one timeout, which was funny too because you know Allen was trying to call for the play clock to reset and it never reset. You know, every time number 12 from New England calls for the play clock to reset, it resets. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. Let me get back on point. The thing was, I mean, they were given a short field. They got some points early. They ended up going. Daboll, I don't think until it was in the 20s as far as the score, he was still on the script that he gave to Allen. I mean, they didn't run very many plays. I mean, you think there's like 15 to 20 plays that he has in the script for Allen that he wants to run, that he wants to get out there. Once you get up 20 points, you start getting in the second half, you start doing a couple other things. What you do is now you try to plan for the following weeks. You don't necessarily forget about the current game that's going on, but what you want to do is you want to try to put a couple more plays in the playbook. So, okay, let's say Daboll on like a 3rd and 6 or a 3rd and medium, let's say. He's always run right tackle, right off tackle with Ivory or McCoy, you know, the whole year. So if you get to a 3rd and 6, like in the 3rd or 4th quarter, and you already have the game in hand, maybe you throw a pass in there. Maybe you throw like a pitch going the opposite way. You kind of want to throw the other coaches, the other defenses that you're going to have to play off your scent. So when it gets down in the 3rd and 4th quarter and you have those sizable leads, you want to start running plays you've never run. So number one, it serves two purposes. One, you throw other teams off of what you may do on those downs. And two, it gets Allen more acclimated in the playbook. If they have to run those plays, how is he going to manage? How is he going to stand up to that? What kind of mistakes can he correct in the 3rd and 4th quarter running those plays that he doesn't normally run for future times that they may have to run them? So that's how the play calling played out for me in this game.
We're getting some chatter in the chat as well from Bills fan 7883 and Benjamin Murphy. Both are talking about Leslie Frazier. Certainly didn't look good, but Bills fan 7883, a lost story. Frazier had a bad game last week. No one faults McDermott for pulling the play calling. This week they trusted Frazier and won. And Benjamin Murphy says McDermott gave Frazier the game ball, showed the team that there was no friction. I have to imagine that in Leslie Frazier's career, he's had days where things in games that, things didn't go the way that he wanted. And he walked into that room and said, hold my beer, watch this, and just brought the house, right? He was absolutely motivated and on top of his game because that defense was swarming. They knew everything that Minnesota was going to run. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Minnesota was playing behind early, but that's because of the cushion the defense was able to give that offense in enemy territory.
Well, Paul, you know how I'm a historian of the NFL, and you don't really like that too much, but it could have been one of those cases. I mean, Bill Parcells, when he took over the Giants, I mean, he took over an awful team, and he wasn't winning very many games. He knew that his job may have been in jeopardy, and then when he didn't get fired in the one-off season, I think it was may have been 81-82 or 82-83. He said, "Listen, if I'm going to get fired here, I'm going to get fired doing it my way." So that could have been one of the cases where Frazier's like, "Listen, I've already had play calling pulled from me. I'm not going to have that happen again. I'm going to go for broke. And I got nothing to lose. We're playing the Vikings. We're a 16-point dog. They're supposed to throw the ball all over us. We don't have any secondary. We're not getting a rush up front." I think Frazier lit a fire under Hughes' ass. I really do. I really think that he got into Hughes maybe pregame, maybe that whole week, maybe saying, "Listen, this left tackle can't. I'm gonna pin your ears back and go with the quarterback. That's all I want you to do. If you miss, don't even worry about the run. That's why we got 49 behind you." You know what I mean? He probably could have said something to Hughes that just lit a fire on him, or the opportunity presented itself, like you said before. I think Cousins has like over 30 fumbles since 2015. He does fumble a lot, so that could have been one of those cases where the opportunity just presented itself. And we talk about matchups all the time. It could have been a favorable matchup for the Bills, and they ended up coming out on top today.
Well, and we saw this happen last year. The defense was able to generate turnovers, and that's when the Bills started winning football games, was those extra possessions. And that's what we saw today, extra possessions. And, you simply can't replace the value of field position, right? You can't replace it. The Bills were able to put up 10 points in really no time. And, again, the script looked great. Now, Rodgers, who's still better than 75% of the quarterbacks in this league, even on the one.
90.
Sure. So what can we expect? Because Green Bay, they're an enigma in the run game. You have 3 running backs there. You don't really know what you don't really have a lead. And like you have to stop Devontae Adams. Geronimo Addison has come out of nowhere, basically. And the defense doesn't scare me. So are you preparing yourself for a shootout? Is this team capable of a shootout?
Do you realize... I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I was just going to say, can they keep up in a game where Green Bay's going to drop 29, 30 points? Can the Bills keep up with that? I don't think
Green Bay dropped 29 today. They had some trouble today against Washington. A lot of problems against Washington, actually. And if you think about it, a name that's going to creep up, may be on your radar a little bit later this week is going to be Mike Pettin, who's the new defensive coordinator over there in Green Bay. So we know the history of Pettin. I mean, you and I, not this current Bills squad. I'm sure they've done their homework as well. But Pettin's always been susceptible to the run in his defenses. His defenses are geared toward bringing pressure, bringing exotic blitzes, and stopping the pass. And as far as the Green Bay defense is concerned, we're going to have chances to run against them, which I probably think is one of the reasons why McCoy was rested today. The Bills probably came into today with a lot of confidence thinking they could win, but they wanted to rest McCoy up for next week. That's as far as the offense going against the Green Bay defense. Now, the Green Bay offense, you're probably going to see, once again, if the Bills are able to do it, you're going to see Trey White matched up on Devontae Adams. The only problem is you're going to have Allison Graham and Cobb. They're going to have the ball all around. I mean, there's a lot more. I mean, not to say there's more playmakers than the Vikings, but you're going to have similar type playmakers that you're going to have to contend with a quarterback who, yes, true, is banged up and his mobility is a little bit down, but that line's been together a little bit longer than the Vikings line, so they have their protection schemes a little bit better, and their backs, I believe, even though as you said it's a 3-headed monster of backs there, they're better at picking up the blitz than the Vikings were today. So it's going to be one of those cases where you're right. You're going to have to go into a hostile environment. You're going to have to do it. And the thing is, though, the thing you don't have working for you is the element of surprise. And now, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about this. A lot of people don't like to hear it. But you mentioned it earlier in the week as far as talking about this could be a trap game. The Vikings could have been a trap game, playing against the Bills because they have to play on Thursday night against the Rams. They just tied Green Bay last week. The Bills could have been a trap game. Well, you know what? You're not going to surprise the Packers now. They seen what you could do against the Vikings, a team which they tied. I mean, the Bills blew out a team that the Green Bay tied. So it's going to be one of those instances where it's going to be very interesting to see how the script plays out once again, what Pettin decides to do against Allen, and how Frazier and McDermott are going to try to scheme against arguably the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now. So even though he's banged up. So actually, I may have spoke too soon. I'm probably going to get some hate mail. Who is it? Who's the best quarterback, Fitzpatrick or Mahomes right now?
Oh, stop it. So John Roberts writes in the chat, I like it. It's like a slow rolling snowball. There's progression with the Bills, and I think that is true. We did see improvement from this week, and hopefully we'll see marked improvement into next week. Yep. I do want to mention that I think it's you look at the Bills having to prepare for Minnesota and Green Bay. I look at those offenses as being a little bit more similar than Washington to Buffalo, right? So if you're looking for trying to group games together, I think the Bills have it a little bit, from a schematic standpoint, a little bit easier going from Minnesota to Green Bay because, again, offensively, those teams are they run similar packages. Now, don't get me wrong, Mike McCarthy is a phenomenal head coach, but he finds really creative ways to get his playmakers the ball that Minnesota just doesn't do. That's the one thing about Minnesota that I can simply say is that they had no creative ways to get the ball in their playmakers' hands, period, the end. They just didn't seem prepared for today. But McCarthy knows how to get the balls in his hands of the playmakers. But I think it'll be easier for the Bills to prepare having come against Minnesota right now than it will be for Green Bay to have gone to Washington and then have to come and play Buffalo.
I mean, yeah, you look down the line. I mean, minus Cook because he didn't play today. I mean, if you go from Latavius Murray to Ty Montgomery, if you want to, you go from Diggs to Adams. You go from Thielen to Allison. You know what I mean? You go from Rudolph to Graham. I mean, you're right. You have similar type players that you're going to have to defend against, but it's a very different system that they run there in Green Bay, and like you said, I mean, Rodgers is always scary. No matter, I mean, he's like a wounded animal in a corner. I mean, he's gonna bite you. So you just got to make sure that it's just not too deep.
We got another comment. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off, Mark?
No, you didn't. I was just putting my helmet on.
Perfect.
Come get ready for this.
So let's talk about the offensive line today from left to right. This game had the offensive line to me was allowed Allen time. You didn't really see them. I mean, you saw Minnesota bring a lot of pressure early, right? Because they wanted Allen to beat him with the pass. But you look up and down the line. Mills, I thought, played really well. Miller played pretty well. Dukas was And anytime that I don't have to talk about our left tackle, Dion Dawkins, is a good game for me. So
I don't know.
I really not.
He had a couple instances where he got shoved into Allen's lap.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that you want to talk about, and you want to talk about the line left to right, Bodine starting obviously was a surprise and ended up, the communication factor ended up working a little bit better than it did with Groy in there. I don't know if that was, I mean, like you said, the Vikings did blitz them, and they did come after Allen, and he did try to make him make mistakes, and a few times he was able to get out of there with his legs and make some plays. The thing about it too, I think, is not completely highlighted in that is the sixth guy, and that would be Chris Ivory. We had seen many times last year in Jacksonville when they were on passing downs, Ivory was in there instead of Fournette because he was able to pick up the blitz a little bit better because he had been in the league. You don't get to stand next to Drew Brees. I can't remember the line that you use. Like, would you say that the admission at that park is pretty high? Yeah. So if you're going to stand next to Drew Brees, you're going to have to learn how to pick up a blitz and protect him. So having Ivory in there was definitely a bump up as far as bigger guy. He's been in the league. He knows how to pick up blitzes. He knows how to, when protections are set, what happens there. But he was one of those guys that was helping out quite a bit in the blitz pickup, and he did a phenomenal job today, both running the ball and picking up the blitzes. The fact that you didn't hear too many guys' names today, I think Allen kind of bailed them out a little bit. They did well. They played their best game this year so far. But then again, Allen was bailing them out quite a bit.
Again, more comments in the chat that I think are pretty, that are pretty poignant to the offensive line. Tim Ellington coming in and saying, Dawkins can get shoved in Allen's lap. Allen isn't like Brady; he doesn't curl up in the fetal position.
True. True.
That's probably pretty true. And Bills fan 7883, Dukas affects Dawkins. I think that's true, right? So anytime you look at tandems, I absolutely think that Dukas is gonna negatively impact the play of Dion Dawkins. Although, truthfully, in full transparency, I don't really love Dawkins at tackle anyway.
I think he'll be a great guard.
Yeah, that's what I mean. His lateral movement coming out of college wasn't great. So he seemed like a perfect fit in guard. But this organization, once they have somebody, picked, boy, they're just going to keep shoving them back in. They're going to keep trying to pound that square peg into the round hole until you whittle down the edges enough that it fits, And that's kind of where we are with Dion Dawkins. Yep. If Incognito were here, would we see better play out of Dawkins? I'm not really even sure.
No.
Can the two be linked right now? I think so. But, I'm just still not super hot on Dion Dawkins because he does get pushed around a bit.
Yeah, and it's like you said. I mean, what they've had to face so far in Baltimore, LA, and now Minnesota were some killer defensive ends, some killer defensive lines. I mean, it's not going to get any easier throughout the year, but they are starting to. I mean, this is what you call battle tested. I mean, these guys are starting to go through the ringer now, in the way that they're playing this game and everything. So, I mean, I think they're going to steadily improve every week, and hopefully, and then Allen will have more lanes to throw into, and these receivers can help him out by catching the pass the first time, not the second time after it hits their chest. But, yeah, this team was like, it seems like this Buffalo team, when their backs are against the wall, that's when they love it and they thrive and they end up excelling. So it's going to be interesting to watch these next 13 weeks and see how they do. But 1-2 after 3 weeks with the 3 teams we had to play, I'll take it. I'll definitely take it.
Did you have PTSD from Zay Jones in the middle there? That was the one catch that he had. There's nobody around him from last week. I saw that go to Zay. I'm thinking to myself, oh God, just get your arms out. Just please put your hands in front of your face.
Stop it. Stop it. I don't. Zay. Stop. Get off of Zay, man. We're going to get a tweet from his mom. Knock it off.
Maybe. I will bring up, Ivory in pass pro was solid. I think that, like, you saw Boone for Minnesota early in the game, and then once it was clear that he didn't know how to pick up a blitz, he was gone. He was out.
Yeah.
That was it. They yanked him right out of that game because he was getting Cousins killed back there by not being able to participate in the pass game.
Yeah.
I mean, pass pro. Murray, I really just anticipated seeing more of Latavius Murray. Nothing, man.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
And then they have a fullback. Is Hart a fullback?
You got me, dude. I have no idea. I have no clue. I just saw a lot of guys get run over by 49 today. I don't know who they were. I'm not really sure who they were. So
yeah, it's smart game plan by Leslie Frazier to be able to just kind of bite his tongue and say, "All right, rookie, let's get some positive building blocks to your career. let's get you something to brag about." Because it had to be a humbling 2 weeks for him. At the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things too that, like, let's play to the kid's strengths for 1 week and see what happens. He's great at blitzing. He could time the snap. He could slice through the A gap. He can create pressure. Put him on a regular blitz. Put him on a delayed blitz. Put him on a blitz where he's faking it and he has to go out and cover. That shot he gave, that Milano picked off with his feet. Good Lord. Good Lord.
Yeah. That was a heavy hit.
Oh. Good Lord.
Yeah, that was heavy.
Yeah, so I mean, that's about the max that I got for the post game. Paul, you got anything else you'd like to add?
No. I think we finally saw some participation by the tight end position. Finally, this game.
Yeah.
Which was nice to see. Again, you think of Brian Dable, you're carrying four. You're carrying 4 tight ends. None of them block especially well. I mean, Clay's probably your best run blocker out of all of them.
Yep.
And it was nice to finally see some of that happen. But again, I really, really feel like the inside running presence was a very big component to what's going to make this team move, right?
Yep.
If they can get that run going inside. And I think that's what they're going to need to do against Green Bay. They didn't really have to rely on the run, obviously, today inside the tackles. Wasn't a necessary part of the game. But I think that's the next wheel that has to spin in this offense because that's one thing they haven't really put on tape yet. And if you're going to catch Green Bay on their heels, you're going to have to give them something that they haven't seen before. And commanding, the 1 through 4 gaps would definitely give them some trouble.
Yep.
So, looking at what we saw today and what we are hopefully going to see next week, I think the Bills really need to lean on an inside presence if they can get it. Again, I think a little bit of that is going to clearly depend on the health of Bodine. I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth. Get those tight ends involved because you can abuse that Green Bay secondary a little bit.
Yeah. You said Bodine.
I know.
How dare you? No, I mean he played a great game today, and we saw the blueprint as far as the Bills go. Is what they're going to try to do is on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to try to control the middle of the field. They're going to try to control the middle and let Edmonds roam and do what he's got to do. And today they said today they ended up bringing a little bit more pressure. And on the offensive side of the ball, like you said, if they can run the ball up the middle, that opens up so much more around everything else because you're gonna have to put guys in the box. You're gonna have to cheat guys in. That opens up the routes on the outside. Now guys can't blitz. If the guys blitz and you successfully run the ball, that opens up. The team's got to now start playing zone against you. And once people stop playing man against Allen and they start playing zone, then we start to see his progressions work out. So that's the thing I'm really excited to see going forward. So, all right. So, Paul, if you got nothing else, I'm going to go try to watch the 4:00 games.
Yep. No, I'm good. And this was different.
It was interesting. Yeah.
This was different. We're going to have to get together for next week.
Yes.
Sorry about being virtual this week. My apologies.
No, that's okay. I mean, you know what, Paul. I think our viewership knows that life happens, and there's certain things that you gotta do, and we were able to. I mean, you were able to cut out about 45 minutes of your day, and we were able to hopefully, give some information to a lot of the people that watched today. And once again, for those of you that watched and commented, can't thank you enough. We Paul and I love doing this, and we love when you guys give us the feedback and everything, and we'll try to have some videos for you later in the week. But as the schedules go, I don't know. So I guess you'll have to stay tuned and find out. For Paul, I'm Mario. This is #Sports. See you next week.